This video is brought to you by the Sewing Out Loud podcast. Listen at sewingoutloud.com or on iTunes. So today we're going to piece together some bias strips to make piping. This is the same process though that you would use to take a bunch of bias strips, piece them together to make bias binding or anything else that you're going to be using bias for. So to start out, your first two strips, lay one out this way. I'd call this horizontal, right side up, and lay your next one down here, right side down, so they are right sides together, perpendicular to each other. So if you have something on your sewing machine, like a ruler or something like that, like I kind of do on this table, or any kind of right angle, they need to be at a right angle. You can do this on a grid, on like a cutting mat too. And then you want to bisect your line here, and you want to do it this way, okay? You want to draw a diagonal line on this square that's being made here. I'm going to do mine with a Choco liner and talk to you about the rules here. When you draw that line, you want your two short ends over to the right and your two long ends over to the left, okay? So this way is not correct. This way you'd have a short end and a long end, and a long end and a short end. But like this, you've got short, long, okay? So you've made your little mark, and then you're going to rotate it, and you're going to sew right along your line. So whatever guideline works for you with your machine, you know, use that. If you have a machine with some kind of guide beam on it, like the laser beam, you can use that as well. But on the Jane, I'm just gonna sew a straight stitch here. At the end, raise my needle up, take my fabric out after I raise my presser foot, and this is what our sewn line looks like, and then this is what our pieced bias strip looks like, okay, on the right side. So what we would do is we would go trim this and press it, but let's talk about what you'll do next. So you just ran this through your sewing machine, and now you've got the next end of your bias strip right side up. Take your next bias strip here and place it right sides down. And then this was a question that came up as we were preparing for the video. This is my selvage here on my bias, and instead of wasting time and, like, you know, cutting it off beforehand, just make sure that it's not incorporated into your seam. So perpendicular, right sides together, and then once again, make a line, a diagonal line across your square where the two short ends are over to your right and the two long ends are over to your left. Make that mark. And whoop, sew your line. And you can pin this in place if you are having trouble keeping it together, but it's not absolutely necessary. And now I have a really long piece of pieced together bias. So we're going to go over and trim this and press it, and the next thing we're going to do is use fusible piping to make some piping to go around a pillow. Thanks for watching, and check out the links to the following videos in the video description.